never thought the person I loved most would humiliate me like this. To her, I was nothing more than a placeholder, a warm-up act before the real show began. But I didn't know that yet, not until I overheard the conversation that shattered everything. It was supposed to be a normal Friday night. Ella was out with her friends, and I had just finished preparing a surprise dinner for her return. As I walked past our living room, I noticed Ella had accidentally left her tablet unlocked on the coffee table. The screen still glowed softly in the dim light. I should have looked away. I should have respected her privacy. But something inside me itched, some strange pull I couldn't resist. My fingers moved almost involuntarily, opening the group chat labeled The Inner Circle, and there it was. Ella. Paul's sweet, but let's be real. He's just practice. The real man will come later. I'm just perfecting my girlfriend. Skills for my future husband. One of her friends replied, Girl, you're smart. Always better to practice before the real deal shows up. Another chimed in with laughing emojis. He cooks, he cleans, and he thinks he's the one. LOL. My stomach turned. My ears burned as my heart pounded against my chest. Every word sliced into me like a blade. Everything I had done, every date, every sacrifice, every moment of affection meant nothing to her. I was nothing but a rehearsal. I sat there frozen, reading the thread over and over again, hoping I had misunderstood. But the messages were clear. My entire relationship had been a lie wrapped in sweet words and fake smiles. The front door opened. Ella walked in, her cheerful voice calling my name. Paul? Honey, I'm home. I closed the tablet gently and stood up, my face calm as if nothing had happened. Hey, babe, I smiled, hiding the storm that raged inside me. Dinner's ready. But that night, something inside me changed forever. Paul. That's my name. 29 years old. Software engineer. Stable job. Stable life. The kind of man most women would say is reliable. That's exactly how Ella always described me, at least to my face. We met 3 years ago at a friend's wedding. She was stunning from the moment I saw her. Long, wavy chestnut hair, hazel eyes that could soften any anger, and a laugh that seemed to pull the entire room toward her. She wore a pale lavender dress that night. The color still haunts my memory. I was instantly drawn to her, like a moth to flame. She smiled first. That should have been my first warning. Beautiful women like her rarely need to approach anyone. But she came to me. You're Paul, right? Ken's friend? She asked, her voice sweet and effortless. I nodded, surprised she even knew my name. We talked the entire evening, about music, movies, travel dreams. She made me feel like the most interesting man in the world. When the night ended, she slipped her number into my hand. My heart pounded like a teenager's. We started dating immediately. Everything felt perfect. She was attentive, affectionate, always excited to see me. She'd send cute texts during work hours. She'd cook for me on weekends. She even made me feel like she needed me, that I was her rock. I introduced her to my family after 6 months. My parents adored her. My mom used to say, Paul, you finally found your forever. And honestly, I believed that too. Ella was clever with words. She always knew how to make me feel like the hero in her story. She would say things like, I've never met someone as patient as you, or you're the only man who truly understands me. And every time she said it, I wanted to protect her even more. After 1 year, she moved into my apartment. I was thrilled. It felt like the next natural step. Living together brought us even closer, or so I thought. We decorated the apartment together, picking furniture, colors, even tiny details like matching coffee mugs. She joked about how she couldn't wait for us to eventually get married. Ella wasn't just my girlfriend. She became my entire world. I started planning for a future, a home, a family, stability. I worked longer hours, took freelance projects, and saved aggressively. All for the life we were supposed to build. But there were small cracks. I chose to ignore them. Sometimes she would cancel plans last minute, saying she needed girls' nights or mental health days. Her phone was always face down whenever we were together. She started taking weekend trips with her friends, saying she needed time to recharge. I trusted her, blindly. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was. She was never emotionally invested the way I was. I gave her everything, my time, my love, my loyalty, and she repaid me with lies dressed as affection. Her friends were an odd bunch too. They'd always act overly sweet in front of me, but I often caught their sly glances and half smirks whenever Ella and I were together. I figured they were just immature. I never suspected they were mocking me behind my back. Scarlett was the only one in her circle who seemed genuinely kind. She often defended me when the others made little jabs. "You're lucky to have Paul," Scarlett would say, shooting disapproving looks at the rest. Ella would just giggle and wrap her arms around me as if to prove them wrong. I appreciated Scarlett for that. She had integrity, or at least I thought so. Ella loved the attention I gave her. I showered her with gifts, weekend getaways, fancy dinners. Every birthday and anniversary was a grand event. She would post our pictures online, writing captions like "My Forever Person," gathering hundreds of likes and comments. But none of it was real. Behind that perfect couple facade, she was rehearsing for someone else's stage. I was her training ground, the man she practiced emotional manipulation on, so she could perfect it for someone better, someone richer, someone more suitable in her eyes. I wasn't just heartbroken when I found out. I was humiliated. The worst kind of pain isn't from losing love. It's from realizing you were never loved in the first place. That night when I saw the messages on her tablet, everything shattered. Yet I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront her. Instead, I smiled. Because at that moment, I decided I wouldn't just walk away like every other fool she discarded after using. No, she wanted practice? Fine. I'd practice too. But not for another woman. For revenge, and the person who would help me? Ironically, it was the only friend she had who still had a conscience. Scarlett. The next few days were some of the most painful yet enlightening of my life. Knowing what I knew, every word Ella spoke felt like poison, wrapped in sugar. Every smile she flashed was a dagger twisting deeper into my gut. But I didn't let it show. I kept smiling, playing the role of the perfect, clueless boyfriend. After all, I needed her to stay comfortable, unaware, while I gathered everything I needed. I began noticing details I once brushed aside. The constant notifications she silenced when we were together. The nights she claimed to be exhausted but stayed up late, texting under the blanket while I pretended to sleep beside her. The sudden emergency meetings with her friends that always ended with her returning home hours later, faint traces of perfume I didn't recognize lingering on her clothes. But I needed undeniable proof. Catching a glimpse of a message thread wasn't enough. She was smart, manipulative. If I confronted her without solid evidence, she'd twist it, gaslight me, turn herself into the victim, and I wasn't going to give her that chance. So I upgraded. My approach, I installed a discreet spyware app on her phone one morning while she was showering. It gave me access to her calls, texts, and even her microphone whenever I activated it. I felt disgusted with myself for resorting to such measures. But the more I read, the more I realized how little I actually meant to her. One night, she had a call with her closest friend, Lauren. I listened silently from the other room. Lauren laughed. "So when are you finally going to let Paul go? He's been your little servant for years now." Ella sighed dramatically, like I was some exhausting responsibility. "Soon, I promise. I just need to secure something better first. Andrew's been dropping hints about a promotion, and his family owns property downtown. Once I lock that in, I'll let Paul down gently. No need to break the poor guy completely." Lauren giggled. "You've trained him well. He'll probably even help you pack." Ella laughed with her. "He's so predictable. Honestly, I feel bad sometimes. But practice is practice. He served his purpose." I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. My jaw locked as I struggled to breathe evenly. Every word was another nail in the coffin of the relationship I had once cherished. But strangely, beneath the rage and heartbreak, Something else began to take root. Clarity. I finally saw her for who she really was, and that's when I made the first move. The next day, I reached out to Scarlett. She had always seemed uncomfortable around Ella's manipulative games, but until now, I never involved her in our issues. This time was different. We met at a quiet cafe, far away from Ella's usual hangouts. Scarlett looked concerned the moment she saw me. "Paul? What's going on? You sounded serious." I handed her my phone, showing her screenshots of the conversations I'd collected. Her eyes widened, her hand covering her mouth as she read. When she reached the part where Ella called me practice, she shook her head in disbelief. I had no idea she was saying these things, Scarlett whispered, her voice trembling. She always made it sound like you were her dream guy. She talks about you like you're her everything, at least when she's around me. I looked her in the eye. "Scarlett, I need your help." She hesitated, glancing back at the screen. "Paul, this is beyond awful. But what do you want to do?" I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "She played me. I'm going to return the favor. But I can't do it alone." Scarlett was silent for a moment. Then she exhaled sharply and nodded. "I'm in." From that moment on, Scarlett became my partner in what would be the most carefully crafted act of revenge Ella would never see coming. The plan was simple. Let Ella believe everything was going according to her vision. Let her think I was still oblivious, still under her control. Meanwhile, I'd gather more evidence, ensure I had every angle covered, and create a situation where she couldn't wriggle out, no matter how hard she tried. The emotional strain of acting like nothing was wrong nearly broke me several times, especially when Ella would sweetly kiss me goodnight after texting Andrew behind my back, or when she whispered, "I love you," after complaining to her friends that I was no longer exciting enough for her. But each time I felt myself slipping, I'd remind myself of the recordings, of the words she said, of the betrayal I was about to repay tenfold. The deeper I let her sink into her illusion, the sweeter her downfall would be. Pretending everything was normal around Ella became a daily war inside my own mind. I would wake up beside her each morning, feel her arms casually drape over me like nothing was wrong, and force myself to smile back as if her love wasn't fake. The weight of her betrayal sat like a stone on my chest every second of every day, but I had to wear the mask perfectly. Every word she spoke sounded rehearsed now, every compliment carefully chosen to maintain her cover. "You're so good to me, Paul. I'm lucky to have you." Hearing her say it nearly made me sick. She said it so easily, without a hint of guilt in her voice. But beneath my calm exterior, my mind never stopped spinning. Every moment with her became surveillance. Every dinner, every casual chat, every glance at her phone, I observed it all, cataloged every tiny piece of evidence she unknowingly provided. The more I watched, the more I saw how completely calculated she was. She timed her text messages to Andrew perfectly, deleting entire conversations before returning home. She'd rehearse excuses in front of the mirror, not knowing I stood silently behind her some nights, watching her reflection reveal who she really was. Scarlett stayed by my side throughout it all. Late at night, when Ella claimed she was visiting her sick aunt, Scarlett and I would meet quietly to review the new information. She became my anchor, the only person who helped me hold it together. "You okay?" Scarlett would ask, noticing my hands trembling as we scrolled through more screenshots. "No," I'd admit. "But I will be." Every time I saw Ella posting pictures of us together, writing captions like "my future husband," while secretly planning to replace me, my fury deepened. She was weaponizing our love for public validation while privately mocking me to her friends. And Andrew, he wasn't even subtle. Messages between him and Ella were loaded with arrogance. Andrew: "Don't feel bad, babe. Losers like Paul exist for a reason. They train women like you for men like me." Ella: "Exactly. I'll be free soon. He's almost done saving up. Then we'll have everything." Reading those lines burned deeper than anything I had felt before. But strangely, that pain gave me focus. The more they plotted, the more certain I became that my revenge would be complete. At family gatherings, Ella clung to me like the perfect girlfriend. My parents still adored her, completely unaware of what was really happening. I watched my mother hug her, proudly calling her the future Mrs. Paul. I had to look away, biting my tongue to keep from screaming the truth. At work, I struggled to maintain focus. My colleagues noticed my distant stares, my declining energy. They assumed I was just tired, burned out. If only they knew that while they were talking about weekend plans, I was watching the woman I loved orchestrate my humiliation behind my back. I became addicted to monitoring her phone. Sometimes I would lie awake at 2 a.m., listening to her late-night whispers to Andrew, my heart racing every time she said his name. She called him my real future, and every time she did, my hands clenched involuntarily. But I couldn't slip. I couldn't confront her. Not yet. If I did, she'd twist it, cry, manipulate everyone around us into seeing her as the victim. She was good at that. She always had been. Scarlett kept me grounded. She understood the storm I was trapped inside. One night, after reviewing Ella's latest messages, I broke down. My breathing became shallow, my chest tightened. Scarlett placed her hand on mine and whispered, "Paul, hold on. We're almost there." I trusted her, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I was going to marry her. "I know," Scarlett replied, her voice steady, "and that's why she's going to lose everything." There were moments where the weight of it all nearly crushed me. Seeing Ella plan wedding venues with me while planning her escape behind my back made my skin crawl. She picked out rings, tried on dresses, and told her friends how easy it was to manipulate me into proposing. She even discussed how much alimony she could get if she married me quickly and then divorced once she secured Andrew. She was planning not just to leave me, but to profit from my destruction. Each night I'd lie beside her, feeling like I was sleeping next to a viper. But I held my mask perfectly. I had to. Every tear I held back became fuel. Every smile I faked became another step closer to her fall. And in those darkest hours, while my heart was bleeding inside my chest, one thought kept me going. She thinks she's playing me, but she has no idea who's really playing who. Just when I thought I had seen the full extent of her betrayal, fate threw me a gift I wasn't expecting. One afternoon, while Ella was supposedly out with her mother, Scarlett called me urgently. "Paul, I need you to come over right now," she said, her voice tense. Within minutes, I was at Scarlett's apartment. She didn't waste time. She handed me her phone, her face pale. "I received this by mistake," she whispered. It was a forwarded message from one of Ella's so-called friends, someone Scarlett had drifted away from over time. The message contained an audio recording. My hands shook slightly as I pressed play. Ella's voice filled the room, sharp and mocking. "Andrew's getting impatient. He keeps saying once Paul transfers his investment fund into our joint account, we can finally move forward. I've been playing along, but if Paul doesn't move faster, Andrew might lose interest." Then her friend chimed in, "Just marry Paul. Once you're legally his wife, you'll have access to everything. Then you can divorce him and cash out." Ella laughed coldly. "That's the plan. The engagement party will seal the deal. After that, everything he owns is as good as mine." Scarlett's eyes glistened with anger. "She wasn't just planning to leave you, Paul. She was planning to financially destroy you." I sat down heavily, absorbing the weight of the new betrayal. Everything she had done, every romantic gesture, every future plan, had been part of her calculated scheme to gut me financially. The woman I once believed was my soulmate had evolved into something far worse, a predator. Now the stakes weren't just emotional, they were financial, legal, absolute. "She wants to marry me for access to my investment account," I whispered. "She thinks she can lock me in legally, bleed me dry, and then run off with Andrew." Scarlett nodded. "This isn't just infidelity anymore, Paul. She's playing a long con. She's betting you'll be too love-struck to protect yourself. Once she has legal access, you're finished." As horrifying as it was, this revelation changed everything. I had originally planned to expose her affair. Now I realized that simply outing her wouldn't be enough. Public humiliation wasn't sufficient for a woman who was actively plotting to destroy my future. I needed to hit her where it would hurt the most, her greed. That night, I quietly visited my attorney. We reviewed every account, every contract, every investment tied to my name. I legally locked down my assets under protected trusts, isolated from marital access. Any future transfers would require my personal authorization and verification. I even modified my will. The wedding she thought would be her jackpot was quickly turning into a worthless ceremony. But I didn't stop there. I discreetly arranged for financial investigators to start digging into Andrew. If Ella was planning something this vile, chances were her partner in crime was hiding something too. Within days, I had their bank records, secret meetings, and even hotel bookings that coincided with Ella's girls' trips. Scarlett was with me every step, reviewing the documents late at night, anger burning behind her steady voice. They deserved to lose everything, and they would. The engagement. Party Ella had dreamed of was fast approaching. She believed it would be the beginning of her victory. But for me, it was the perfect stage to deliver the first major blow. The night of the engagement party arrived. The venue was extravagant, exactly how Ella had wanted it. White floral arrangements, gold-accented table settings, chandeliers reflecting. Soft lights across the ballroom. Everything designed to give the illusion of perfection. Guests arrived dressed to impress, snapping photos for social media with captions like "power couple" and "future goals." Ella stood at the center of it all, radiant in her pale lavender gown, the same color she wore the night we met. Her smile was wide, but behind her carefully applied makeup, I saw the calculating glimmer in her eyes. She wasn't celebrating love, she was celebrating victory. I greeted everyone, playing my part flawlessly. No one suspected a thing. My parents were glowing with pride, introducing themselves to Ella's family, praising our perfect match. I watched Ella interact with Andrew's parents as well, pretending they were distant acquaintances. No one in that room except Scarlett and me knew the storm that was about to hit. Scarlett remained close by, silent but vigilant. We exchanged brief glances throughout the evening, steady signals that we were still in control. As the formalities ended and the champagne flowed freely, I stepped forward, tapping my glass gently to draw attention. "May I have everyone's attention, please?" The room quieted as all eyes turned toward me. Ella stood beside me, slipping her arm around mine, playing the devoted fiancé. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight," I began, voice calm, steady. "It means a lot to share this special moment with those closest to us. Tonight isn't just about an engagement. It's about honesty, trust, and love." Ella's grip on my arm tightened slightly. She wasn't expecting this tone. "And that's why," I continued, "I'd like to share something very personal with you all. Something that defines the foundation of any relationship." I paused, letting the silence stretch long enough for the tension to ripple across the room. Transparency. Ella's smile faltered, only for a brief second. But I caught it. I turned toward her and smiled warmly. "Ella, my love, you've always said relationships should have no secrets between us, and I couldn't agree more. So tonight, let's be fully transparent." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small remote. With one click, a large projector screen behind us lit up. The guests turned, curious. At first, it displayed a simple text conversation between Ella and Lauren. "Lauren, you're actually going to go through with marrying him?" Ella: "Of course. Once his investments transfer into the joint account, I'll file for divorce. Andrew and I will be set for life." A collective gasp filled the room. Ella's hand dropped from my arm. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Some guests exchanged shocked glances. Others immediately turned to whisper behind their hands. But I wasn't finished. With another click, the audio began playing, the recording Scarlett had intercepted. Ella's voice echoed through the grand hall. "Andrew's getting impatient. Once Paul transfers his investment fund into our joint account, we can finally move forward. If Paul doesn't move faster, Andrew might lose interest. Whispers turned to full-on murmurs. My parents' faces were frozen in horror. Ella's father looked like he might faint. I turned back toward Ella, who was now pale beneath her makeup. "Ella?" I said softly. "Would you like to explain to our friends and family?" She stammered, "Paul, this is taken out of context." I raised my voice, cutting through her weak attempt. "Out of context? Should we play the part where you discuss the alimony? Or the part where Andrew said I exist only to train you for him?" Ella's lip trembled, her breathing shallow. "Please, let's talk about this privately." I shook my head. "No, Ella. You wanted an audience when you mocked me behind my back. You wanted an audience for your big engagement party, so now you'll get your audience for the truth." Andrew, who had been lurking quietly near the bar, tried to slip out unnoticed, but Scarlett had anticipated that. She calmly stepped into his path, blocking his escape. "Going somewhere, Andrew?" she asked coldly. Andrew swallowed hard, his face drenched in sweat. The guests now fully turned their attention toward him as well. Some even pulled out their phones to record. "Andrew," I called out, "would you like to share your role in this little plan?" Attempted a nervous chuckle. "Paul, man, this isn't what it looks like," I interrupted, voice sharp. "Then why were you at the law firm with Ella last week? Why did you discuss drafting prenups that protect only her assets? Why did you open a secret joint account with her days before this engagement party?" Andrew's face drained of color. Scarlett held up her phone and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "We have the full meeting recorded, Andrew, every word." The whispers became louder. People began filming openly now. Ella spun toward Andrew, her voice breaking. "You idiot! You said everything was covered. You promised no one would find out." Andrew snapped back. "Don't blame me. You're the one who pushed for marriage. You said Paul was too blind to catch on." Argument exploded publicly, their carefully constructed lie unraveling in front of friends, family, and business associates. The perfect image they had built crumbled within minutes. I stood calmly, watching the chaos unfold. But I wasn't done yet. "By the way," I said, raising my voice again, "just in case anyone is wondering, I protected every single one of my assets over the past few months. Everything she thought she was marrying into, untouchable." Ella's knees buckled slightly and she grabbed onto the podium for support. "Paul, please, we can fix this." I stared directly into her eyes. "Fix? You were ready to destroy my life for money, Ella. There's nothing left to fix." Scarlett stepped forward, standing beside me as more guests recorded the entire scene, ensuring there would be no covering up this scandal. Ella's father slumped into a chair, shaking his head in shame while her mother quietly wept beside him. As security arrived to escort Andrew out, Ella collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. I turned to the guests one last time. "Thank you all for attending. The engagement is officially canceled." With that, Scarlett and I calmly walked out of the ballroom, leaving behind the wreckage of their broken scheme. Outside, as we stepped into the cool night air, Scarlett looked at me and smiled softly. "It's over." I nodded. "No. This was only the first half. Now comes the real ending." The scandal spread like wildfire. By the time Scarlett and I reached home that night, the videos were already circulating across every social platform. Clips of Ella's betrayal, Andrew's stammering, and my public exposure of their scheme filled people's feeds. Hashtags trended overnight. Ella and Andrew became the faces of modern betrayal. Her friends turned on her almost immediately, each of them scrambling to distance themselves from the fallout. Even the few who had encouraged her plan publicly denied any involvement. They painted Ella as the mastermind and left her to drown in the very mess they once celebrated. Within 24 hours, Andrew's employer issued a statement suspending him pending internal investigation. His reputation shattered, his promotion was revoked, and rumors circulated that his family planned to cut him off to salvage what little was left of their name. Ella's father, a proud businessman, was ostracized from his own community. His business partners quietly withdrew, afraid of association. Investors pulled out of joint ventures, and within weeks his company faced severe financial collapse. Ella, on the other hand, tried desperately to control the narrative. At first, she attempted public apologies. Tearful videos appeared online, her sitting alone, makeup smeared, voice trembling as she claimed she had been confused and misled by bad influences. She begged for forgiveness, blamed peer pressure, and tried painting herself as another victim. But the public wasn't buying it. The evidence was too clear, too brutal, too unforgivable. Meanwhile, Scarlett and I stayed silent. We made no public statements. We simply watched her world disintegrate while ours quietly flourished. 3 weeks after the engagement party, Ella reached out. She stood outside my building one evening, waiting for me like a shadow of the woman she used to be. Her once pristine hair was disheveled, her designer clothes replaced with cheap imitations. "Paul?" she called softly as I exited the building. I stopped but didn't approach. "Please, can we talk?" I stayed silent. Tears filled her eyes. "I lost everything. My family's ruined. Andrew's abandoned me. I have nothing left." I stared at her for a long moment, then spoke calmly. "You wanted everything. You almost had it. But you lost the one thing that mattered." She stepped closer, her voice breaking. "I was wrong. I was stupid. I took you for granted. Please, just give me a chance." I shook my head. "No, Ella. You didn't take me for granted. You used me. You plotted to destroy me. And now you're standing in the ruins you built." She collapsed onto her knees, sobbing uncontrollably on the cold pavement. People passing by whispered, recognizing her face from the viral videos. But I didn't stay. I turned and walked away, leaving her behind just as easily as she once planned to leave me. That would have been enough for most people. But not for me. Because, while Ella's life fell apart publicly, I still had unfinished business privately. My financial investigators dug deeper into Andrew. What they uncovered was worse than I expected. Andrew had accumulated massive debt trying to impress his wealthy family. He forged signatures, falsified bank documents, and even embezzled money from one of his father's companies to support his expensive lifestyle. Marrying Ella wasn't just about stealing my assets, it was also his desperate plan to climb out of the hole he had dug for himself. I forwarded the full investigation report anonymously to his father's firm and law enforcement. The financial fraud charges that followed were swift and unforgiving. Andrew was arrested within days. News outlets picked up the story immediately. From heir to inmate, the fall of Andrew Sullivan. With Andrew imprisoned, his family completely disowned him to protect their remaining wealth. Ella, now fully isolated, tried one last desperate move. She filed a lawsuit against me. In her claim, she accused me of public humiliation, emotional abuse, and financial sabotage. She sought damages, trying to milk whatever sympathy she could still squeeze from the legal system. Unfortunately for her, I was ready. In court, my legal team presented every recording, every message, every document proving her calculated scheme to defraud me. Her betrayal wasn't emotional, it was criminal. The judge dismissed her case entirely, citing overwhelming evidence of malicious intent on her part. Worse, the court ordered her to pay my legal fees. Ella stood there as the verdict was read, her eyes hollow, face pale. She mouthed one word as I passed her exiting the courtroom. "Please." But I didn't even look at her. The world forgot about her quickly after that. The internet moved on, new scandals emerged, but for Ella the stain remained permanent. No respectable employer would hire her. Friends abandoned her completely. Her family name was poison. As for me, life began anew. Scarlett and I grew closer through everything. Our friendship evolved into something deeper, honest, respectful, real. There were no games between us, no hidden agendas, only the quiet understanding, born from surviving betrayal together. One evening, as we walked through the park under the soft glow of streetlights, Scarlett stopped and faced me. "You know," she said, "I never thought revenge could feel this peaceful." I smiled faintly. "That's because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about freedom." She gently took my hand. "You finally have it." I squeezed her hand, looking forward for the first time in months. "I do." We continued walking, into the night, no longer carrying the weight of Ella's betrayal, but stepping into a future neither of us planned for, but both of us had earned.